It's getting dark. Winter is drawing near. It's so depressing. Excuse the radio, I can't be bothered to walk over and turn it off. Remember a few videos back where I was bemoaning the fact that this stud, for some reason, the cap for holding the... Oh, I am going to turn the radio off because that is too loud. That's better. Yeah, so I was whining like a little bitch because I was pissed off that the rear of the 4 independent cam covers wouldn't bolt down because this thread was knackered. When I got the car, it had a wheel nut screwed on, bodged on. I didn't realise that it was as bollocks as it was until I took it apart. Anyway, I went back today to my dad's place where I had a spare engine, which is where incidentally I got all of the other bits and pieces that I sent away to be blasted before refitting it. And I bought myself this here stud extracting tool. It's really clever. I had not used one before. Bought it specially for the job. Basically, you have 2 orifices and this cam wheel thing here. You slide it over the stud using whichever hole is more appropriate, and then as you unfasten it, that cam wheel locks and grips the stud. This stud is the old one, so I didn't care about ruining it, so I was just practicing. Got it out easy. This is the one that came out of the nice engine, and I took my time and I applied a little bit more care, and there's only some damage to the thread stud there, but the top part of the thread, which I need, is absolutely a-okay. So that can now be wound into there. Then the rockers can go back on, and then I can screw my cap on. That's the plan. Stud is in, push rod's in, rocker gear on and nut on. And I remember when I undid that nut thinking, damn it, that's up tight. The specs for this nut, this rocker pedestal nut, is 108 Newton meters, which is tight. So, man, that is not going to come undone anytime soon. That makes me happy. I haven't talked it up. I think they're only meant to be done up to 8 Newton meters, which is nothing. I wanted them, for my own OCD goodness, to be all aligned perfectly. Sadly, it's such a crude thread, and there's so little compression of the rubber O-ring on the underside of these in that paper gasket that they're just going to end up pointing where they point. Which is a shame, but never mind. That is on. That is good. I'm going to go finish cooking my dinner. It's that familiar walk down the garden in the rain. I'm not feeling overly motivated, but I'm still trying to force myself to do stuff. It is about 5:30 on a soggy Thursday afternoon. I received in the post today bits I thought I'd bought long ago. It turns out I haven't, or if I did, I've buried them. But it's good news because these are the spring insulator pads for the front struts, so I can actually go about reassembling the front legs. Once the front legs are on, I can temporarily fit my new hubs. Well, they're not new, the old ones with the old single plain discs in, but that means the car can go on the floor, and that's good news because this weekend I'm hoping my mate Jason will come down and help me fit the rear glass. Got quarter light seals and the tailgate seal. That's a 2-man job, so yeah, he's gonna very kindly offer up some of his time to give me a hand. But first off, let's do the front legs. It's almost like I thought about this, isn't it? We have brand new old stock leg with insert fitted, still with its original little collar thing. I epoxied that a while ago. That's the original spring, cleaned up and painted just with gloss black paint. This is the lower spring insulator, which goes in the spring seat there, or platform, whatever you want to call it. That is the old one, and it was just impregnated with rust and a bit pants, so that's going in the bin. Gator, top gator washer, top upper spring platform, that flat there engages with the flat on the side of the strut insert, you can just see. And then we've got the top mount with the bearing. That's all good, and I've put a bit more grease in it. And on here we have bump stop. The original ones had long since disappeared, so I found these, which are actually off a Vauxhall, but they are the right diameter. They're probably not long enough, but quite frankly, if you can compress that spring to bottoming out, you've got a big fucking problem, so don't worry about that. I also then have to give thanks to somebody, and apologies, can't remember your name, but I was bemoaning the fact that these dampers always want to retreat into the housing when you let go of them, which makes putting on the top nut when you've got the spring compressors on here quite problematic. And this person pointed out, just put a cable tie around it and it will grip it and stop it going back in. Once you've got all assembled, just cut the cable tie and Bob's your uncle and your dad. So that's what I'll be doing. Need to go find my spring compressors and the top nut and washer, or a top nut and washer. It's just a massive nylock. And there we go. Nice chunky washer. And then I also want to remind myself which way up that goes, because I can't remember. There you go. Just a reminder for myself. The washer number 15 went convex side up. Also on here, part number 13, the lower arrow goes to a kind of shim thing. Some SD1s have that, some do not. Mine didn't, so maybe because it's a diesel, meh, don't know. But anyway, I'm reassembling it as it was because that's how I found it. It would be a pain to put it all back together and then find that it had a crazy high ride height because I had put a shim in which it didn't need. So that's that bit. Now to find my spring compressors, which are over there somewhere. Some of you might, I don't know, record in horror at what I've done here, but I didn't really want to scratch my paint, so I've chopped up some microfiber cloth and put it between the spring compressors and the coils. Why might you be recoiling? Well, because that could in principle provide a mechanism for the clips to slip off. Basically, in my opinion, they've got a massive jaw on them and it'll be fine, but you know, depending on your spring compressors, you might not want to do that. Anyway, I'm progressively doing these up until we get pretty close to shitting our pants with how much load is going through them. And then we shall offer them up and see if we can get the cap top mount nut and bolt on. Okay, I gave up on the microfiber cloth. It just appeared to want to not so much slip off the spring, but the spring compressor slide around the spring, and there's a lot of load on it now, so I'm going to put my foot beyond this cushion while I do the final tightening. Still quite a long way to go before that cap is going to go on the end of the strut. I cannot tell you how much I hate doing this job, but that is on there and I've just done the nut up, so I can unwind those now, but that shows you the amount of compression required. But everything is in place, I think. Oh, cock. Damn it, this is why I hate this sort of thing. That spring compressor is now preventing the spring from sitting nicely on the insulator pad. So I'm going to have to do some more jiggery pokery in order to settle it, which I'm not going to enjoy. Good time for the impact gun to run out of batteries and me forget to charge it. But that one is done. I've zip tied the gator on there. The insulator pad is basically in there now. Don't ask me how I did that, because it would not be something that you should try and replicate. Sorry. So once that's charged up, I'll do the other one, hopefully survive that, and then I can start thinking about the steering arms. These I epoxied again, but I overpainted where there shouldn't be paint. You want machined surface on machined surface. So I'm going to get a razor blade, scrape the epoxy off here, and anywhere where these want to go, check that the taper is also clear of paint, and then fish around for some bolts. These are the caliper to hub and steering arm to hub bolts. These are the locking tabs, rather secondhand, but they're very difficult to find original ones. That's the other nut and washer somewhere. There we go, ready for next one. Yeah, so I probably won't film the next one, even if I do survive. But then we should be, well, quite a lot back on the car. Heavy annoying things that I trip over regularly will be back on the car, and that is progress. One thing I forgot to say, which is of key importance, is that this top seat is at an angle, and it has to go in a particular orientation. It has this notch here, and that has to go with the stub axle points. So I've actually had to put the spring compressors back on to compress the spring so that this was unloaded enough for me to rotate the cap so it's in the right orientation, which is really stupid of me, but hopefully you won't make that same mistake. Little victories. Just sitting up there with its stainless nuts and washers. That is in. I had just put my foot on the anti-roll bar to push that down enough for the new ball joint to pop in underneath. That is nice. I like. Very good. So, still need to sort the other side once my impact gun has finished charging. I still haven't sorted brakes yet because the calipers I was hoping to rebuild are completely knackered. So I either run the solid discs in the 4 pots or I splash the cash and buy some new calipers. But this car is costing me far too much money. It was supposed to be a save it, budget for an MOT type project, and it's turned into a near full restoration. So yeah, I don't really want to go spending another 400 quid on, or be more than that, 600-700 quid on brakes. Second one done, but I have destroyed my spring compressors. It won't be apparent here, but they are actually now bent, and what used to be a spring washer there has become destroyed, and bits of it are actually on my mat, having been smeared to death. So it shows you that SD1 diesel springs are pretty meaty, and I guess that's because of that hunker chunk of iron in the front. Annoyingly, I've managed to break my side cutters, so I have to wait for another day to cut that and fit a new band on there. But top mount is on. Just got to, these are brand new track control arms. I just painted them because the original paint's not up to much, so may as well keep everything looking as pretty and shiny as neat as we can for as long as possible. This stub axle's still got its original wax paper tape stuff on it, which I'll have to clean off before I stick new wheel bearings on. In fact, I lied, they're not new wheel bearings, I'm just reusing the old ones because there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. So now I have to get that over that, involving foot and Crocs, which might be a two-handed job again. Well, it has been a successful evening. It's now not quite 7 o'clock. I'm very smug because I thought that that was gonna be, you know, a job for Saturday, and it is still only Thursday night, so that's good. Gives me a few days to get the hubs on so I can put it on the ground. Anyway, these are going on. I'm going to go get cleaned up and then go down the road because I've run out of beer. I've actually managed the last 2 nights without drinking anything, which is extremely rare for me. But I'm trying a new healthy diet of less alcohol. But I'm a weak man, so I'm going to treat myself tonight. See you later. I feel like quite a lot of my videos start with me walking along this bit of the car, but it's usually because I've gone over there to turn the radio off and come back here to do something and turn the camera on. Last night I got those struts in. Tonight I want to clean up all of the underside of the floor, fit the sump, which is nicely painted, waiting to go back on. The new sump gasket has arrived, and I've got my Loctite black sealer. I've got that tube, and I've got a brand new tube as well knocking around, so that'll go on, be torqued up. Got my engine oil, which has arrived today, over there. And then something I didn't update you on but has been achieved. A long time ago, when I took the car to the body shop, one of the power steering pipes, the high pressure one under the car, popped and hemorrhaged power steering fluid everywhere. And those power steering pipes, the old ones, were incredibly second-hand and basically had corroded to the point that they could not be salvaged. The diesel was different from all the other cars in its routing of power steering pipes, but it turns out that you can make Series 2 V8 pipes fit, and that's what I've done. So at the moment they're just done up finger tight, but what happened was, although I could get them in the rack and one of them comes up to the pump and fits okay, the other one is a bit short, so I needed to extend it. So I've bought myself two brass couplings. It's the low pressure one that returns to the pump here, so I can join the pipe with generic hose pipe with a connector, and then we'll be good to go. I won't bother filming that because it's not very interesting. I'm just sort of updating you if you cared. But let's chat more. Put Sump on, fill it with oil, clean up under the car, connect the rack to the hubs, fit the back plates, and then temporarily fit the front hubs so I can mount the wheels. We have brake cleaner, kitchen towel, Loctite, new gasket, sump, so I shall clean all of that out. Somebody commented that the sump plug washer was the wrong way round. Don't worry, it's going to get replaced anyway, but yeah, good spot if it was correct. I never checked, so I don't know. And then we have the bolts for the sump. Sump is on, looking lovely. Engine oil is also in. Next I'm gonna fit the disc back plates on the front hubs. So I need to tap out these holes because they might have some paint in them, find some nuts and bolts, and then put some hubs on it, then tidy up from underneath and put the car on the ground. Wouldn't it be nice if we could get everything right every time, the first time? Wouldn't it be nice if I got everything right the first time round? I'm an idiot and I didn't. I got that top joint the wrong way around, which meant that at certain angles it was locking up the steering, so I've had to split it all again. But it's no big deal because I'd forgotten I wanted to re-lock wire these bolts. So I'm going to go find my lock wire and lock wire spanners and put new lock wire in those. This is what we're trying to replicate. It's essentially wire that's been spiral round. The bolts have been cross drilled and it's just an additional security mechanism. They do have lock washers on and paint where I've painted them, but I shall cut off some lock wire, and these are my spangly spanners. What you do is you thread the lock wire through to make a loop. You clamp this at the distance between those 2 points. It locks with that little pin there, and then when you pull this handle, again, this is probably a two-handed job. Apologies if you're getting seasick, but basically as you pull that, see, this bit makes the whole assembly spin round. So if I let go of my feet, see how that spun round? Basically that's what you're doing. This clamps onto the wire, you pull the handle, this whole bit spins around, spinning the wire up. I will attempt to demonstrate, but this probably won't go particularly well. So we have a loop there. I will have to put the camera down while I attach the pliers, but basically I'll attach them about there when I'm indicating with my finger. Then when I twist them, the section between my finger and the head of that bolt will twist up, leaving these two tails free. I'll thread one of the tails through that other stud and then do it again, and we should have nicely thread locked components. Are you ready for the magic? So now we have our spiral wound wire. If I release these, now I can bend that around to there and then thread one of these tails through and do it again. So thread spun up wire between the two, tails posted through, spinny spanner time. Is it looking maybe a little bit more? Release. Now we can cut that bit off. And then tuck that bit back around there. The you know, this all originated probably from military applications or jet engines, RAF, stuff like that. And I know back in the day, I was chatting to a guy at a car show about doing lock wiring, because he used to be in the RAF, and they would do it with flat spanners, flat bladed pliers, no twizzle stick thing running up the middle, and they would have to do so many twists per inch to get it perfect and meet regulations. But since this is a crappy diesel Rover, I won't be bothering. That is how it's going to be. Once the columns screwed back together again, I'll do the other ones. I'll have to do them when the thing is back in the car, because obviously the bit I need to poke the wire through is there. Well, I'm annoyingly behind schedule. Undoing that steering column, putting it all back together again, it's cost me a lot of time. I have to go and cook dinner, so yeah, I might pop down later and do a bit more prep. My whole plan was to get the car on the ground, clean up the glass, rivet the trim clips on the rear wings, ready for the chrome trim to go on, and also to clean out the boot, so I've got an area to work in, or we have an area to work in, and also strip an old tailgate to get the glass out. Done none of it, so I'll have to get up tomorrow morning, I think.